He was taller than I remembered, with piercing blue eyes and a quiet intensity that radiated competence. He wasn't overtly charming like Liam, but there was an undeniable magnetism about him, an aura of quiet strength. We spent hours discussing the details, sharing information, meticulously planning our strategy. Julian had indeed gathered significant intelligence, piecing together fragments of information about suspicious financial movements and unusual contacts between Liam and Serafina and a shadowy offshore corporation. He didn't have the full picture, but his suspicions aligned perfectly with my own knowledge. "This is more complex than I initially thought," Julian said, leaning back in his chair, his gaze fixed on me. "They've been very careful." "They had 6 months to plan it," I stated, my voice flat. "And they had my trust." Julian's eyes softened slightly. "I can only imagine how that must feel." A strange warmth spread through me. In my past life, I had been so isolated, so convinced I had to carry the burden alone. It was a stark contrast to the genuine empathy I felt from Julian. Over the next few weeks, our alliance deepened. We met frequently, sometimes in my office, sometimes in his, sometimes in neutral, discreet locations. Our conversations, initially strictly business, began to drift into personal territory. We discovered a shared passion for classic literature, a dry wit, and a similar drive for excellence. Julian was unlike any man I had ever known. He was intelligent, strategic, and fiercely loyal. He listened intently, offered insightful advice, and never once questioned my judgment. He saw me not just as a business rival, but as a woman of immense strength and intellect. In my past life, I had been too consumed by my work, too blinded by Liam's superficial charm, to truly connect with anyone on a deeper level. But now, I found myself looking forward to our meetings, the easy camaraderie, the unexpected laughter. One evening, after a particularly long strategy session, Julian walked me to my car. The city lights twinkled around us, a dazzling tapestry against the night sky. "Alara," he said, his voice softer than usual. "What they did to you, it was despicable. You deserve justice." I looked at him, truly looked at him, and saw genuine concern, not just strategic interest. "Thank you, Julian." He reached out, his hand gently touching my arm. A spark, subtle yet undeniable, passed between us. "You're a remarkable woman, Alara Vance." My heart fluttered. It was a sensation I hadn't felt in a long time, a feeling of being seen, truly seen, for who I was, not just for my achievements or my vulnerability. The day of the board meeting arrived, the day I had chosen for my grand reveal. I had meticulously prepared, every piece of evidence painstakingly gathered, every loophole sealed. Marcus's audit had provided irrefutable proof of the manipulated financial records and the unauthorized network access. Lena had uncovered a trail of shell corporations linked directly to Liam and Serafina, the very entities used to siphon funds and create the illusion of fraud. As I walked into the boardroom, I felt a quiet calm, a stark contrast to the raw nerves that had plagued me in my past life. Liam and Serafina were already there, their faces carefully composed, a facade of normalcy. "Good morning, everyone," I began, my voice steady and clear. "I've called this emergency board meeting to address a matter of critical importance to Phoenix Innovations. As you know, we've been undergoing a comprehensive internal audit." I paused, letting my gaze sweep across the room, lingering for a moment on Liam and Serafina. Their smiles faltered, a flicker of unease in their eyes. "The audit," I continued, "has uncovered some deeply disturbing findings. Findings that point to a deliberate, calculated act of fraud and embezzlement within our own company." A murmur rippled through the room. Liam's left eyebrow twitched. Serafina's hand instinctively went to her throat. "Specifically," I said, my voice hardening, "the audit has revealed a series of fabricated transactions, manipulated financial reports, and unauthorized access to our secure systems, all designed to create the illusion of financial misconduct on my part." I projected a series of charts and graphs onto the large screen, each one a damning piece of evidence. The board members leaned forward, their expressions shifting from confusion to shock. "These transactions," I explained, pointing to a complex web of financial transfers, were routed through a series of offshore shell corporations, designed to obscure the true beneficiaries. However, through diligent investigation, we have traced these funds, and the unauthorized access points, directly to 2 individuals present in this room." I paused again, letting the tension build. The air was thick with anticipation. "Liam Thorne," I announced, my voice ringing with authority, "and Serafina Vance." A collective gasp filled the room. Liam's face went pale, his composure finally cracking. Serafina let out a small, choked sound, her eyes wide with terror. "This is outrageous." Liam spluttered, finding his voice. "Elara, what are you talking about? This is a baseless accusation." "Is it?" I challenged, my eyes blazing. "I have here irrefutable evidence. Forensic accounting reports, IP logs, recorded communications, and witness testimonies. Your meticulously planned scheme, Liam, was designed to frame me, to steal Phoenix Innovations, and to destroy my life. And Serafina, you were a willing accomplice, using your position to manipulate information and turn our colleagues against me." I presented the evidence, one damning piece after another. The board members watched in stunned silence as the intricate web of their betrayal unraveled before their eyes. The forged documents, the emails between Liam and Serafina discussing their plan, the detailed financial records showing the siphoned funds. Never would it have occurred to me to do something like this in my past life. Surrounded by the illusion of loyalty and trust, I stated, my voice laced with a cold bitterness. I was too naive, too focused on building, to ever imagine such a destructive act from within. The board members, initially hesitant, now looked at Liam and Serafina with a mixture of disgust and anger. The evidence was overwhelming. We also have evidence of their illicit affair, a relationship that served as the foundation for their conspiracy, I continued, watching Serafina flinch. Their motive was clear, to seize control of Phoenix Innovations, my life's work, and to enrich themselves at my expense. Liam, defeated, slumped in his chair, his face ashen. Serafina, however, tried one last desperate attempt to salvage her reputation. "Elara, please. You're mistaken. Liam coerced me. He threatened me." Her voice was shrill, desperate, a stark contrast to her usual composed demeanor. "In my past life, I might have fallen for that act, Serafina," I said, my voice devoid of emotion. "I might have believed your tears. But now, I knew better. Every step you took was a conscious choice. Every lie you told was a calculated decision." Julian Vance, who had been observing the proceedings from a discreet corner of the room, stepped forward. "Ms. Vance has presented compelling evidence," he stated, his voice calm but firm. "As a representative of Zenith Corp., and indeed, as a concerned party in the integrity of our industry, I can corroborate much of what has been presented. My own intelligence network flagged suspicious activities related to Phoenix Innovations in recent months. It is clear that a grave injustice has been attempted here." His words added an undeniable weight to my accusations. The board members, already convinced, now had the backing of a respected industry leader. The chairman, Mr. Davies, a man who had initially expressed profound disappointment in me in my past life, now looked at Liam and Serafina with a grim expression. "Mr. Thorne, Ms. Vance, the evidence presented is damning. This board cannot, and will not, tolerate such egregious acts of fraud and betrayal. Effective immediately, your employment with Phoenix Innovations is terminated. Furthermore, we will be cooperating fully with law enforcement to ensure you face the full consequences of your actions." Liam finally broke. He stood up, knocking his chair over, and lunged towards me, his eyes wild with rage. "You bitch. You set me up." Before he could reach me, Julian, with surprising speed, stepped between us, blocking Liam's path. Two security guards, whom I had discreetly arranged to be on standby, immediately moved in and restrained Liam. Serafina, sobbing hysterically, was also escorted out. The room was silent for a moment, the tension slowly dissipating, replaced by a sense of stunned relief. "Thank you, Mr. Vance," I said, turning to Julian, a genuine smile gracing my lips. "Your presence was invaluable." He simply nodded, his eyes holding mine, a silent understanding passing between us. The aftermath was a whirlwind. The news broke like a dam, flooding the media with headlines that screamed of betrayal and redemption. Phoenix CEO cleared of fraud, betrayal by fiancé and sister exposed. Vance siblings deception rocks corporate world. In my past life, these headlines would have been about my downfall, my disgrace. But now, they were about my triumph, my vindication. Liam and Serafina were arrested that same day. The legal process was swift, given the overwhelming evidence I had meticulously gathered. They were charged with fraud, embezzlement, and conspiracy. The public, initially quick to condemn me, now rallied behind me, outraged by the depth of the betrayal. My phone rang incessantly. Calls from former friends who had turned their backs on me, now offering apologies and feigned sympathy. Calls from family members who had disowned me, now expressing their shock and regret. In my past life, I would have been desperate for their forgiveness, for their acceptance, I told Lena one evening, as we watched the news reports from my living room. I would have welcomed them back with open arms, craving the illusion of a family. But now, I knew the true cost of their abandonment. Their apologies were hollow, their sympathy, a performance. I ignored most of their calls, sending a clear message. The only family I acknowledged now was Lena, the one who had truly stood by me. My parents, who had believed Serafina's lies over their own daughter, received a terse message from my lawyers, informing them that I wished no further contact. It was a painful decision, but a necessary one. The wound of their betrayal ran too deep. Reclaiming Phoenix Innovations was my next priority,